Well, hello there, my brothers and sisters. It's Josh Packard. Welcome to another episode of The Golden Image of Churchianity is a Lie. Thank you for joining me today. If this is your first time, welcome. I've been called every name in the book. I've been called a cult leader. I've been, people say I'm a servant of Satan, that I'm all these things. I mean, I hear it all the time. People think I'm too hard-lined. People, they say all this stuff. I mean, and it's funny, and a lot of it's behind my back. A lot of people are very brave online, or but in person, typically most people don't have that audacity. Um, uh, but there's a big problem I'm seeing, and and I don't, like I said, I don't care about what you call me. I don't give a shit. It doesn't mean anything to me. But what I am concerned with is that the people just they have this idea that Satan has set up in them that God can't be known as he is. There's been so much misinformation put out, and people are so distracted, and they don't realize that God is easily knowable because he has to reveal himself. You can't conceive of him because everything that you've ever seen is under death. You're in the knowledge of good and evil. You're in a fog, in a veil. There's nothing that you can see outside of this veil. And so the God that you can conceive of is the one that you can serve, right? And that's what every religion has done, is they've just made their conception of what God is. We have the Bible as Christians, you know what I mean? And the Word of God is true. But what happens is because they have nothing to reference they're reading against. They don't have a picture of the true. They have to fabricate these imaginations of what Bible is saying. So all these religions, they come up with these ideas of a God that they got to believe in, accept, repent. They go through all the lists, and their God is doctrinal. They put him through this test. They go, well, he's got to be this, he's got to be that, he's got to be this, and they keep this kind of like a mental chart of these things that he has to be, right? And so then they check out their list. Well, God would never say that. God would never do this, and da 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 da. And they go through all their doctrines and they recite them, and this is their. And so everyone's got this statement of faith, and they all subscribe to it. You've got to believe like we do. You got to accept like we did. You got to repent like we did. You got to do all these things according to my doctrine. It should look like this according to what we say. And so you don't realize that everything you're doing is you're making a pouch of paradigms. I don't have a better way to put it. So you're looking always into your pouch of paradigms, trying to know God. So it's like the Pharisees, whenever they were reading the scriptures, and Jesus said, you search the scriptures thinking that you'll find in them life, but they're speaking of me. So you're just the God of your conception. You haven't known him at all. It's like a child, and their parents are living right next to them, right? But all they're doing is they're going, well, my dad would say this, my dad would do that, and da 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 da. And he's like, no, I wouldn't. Oh no. And they just keep writing what they want to write and what they fabricate from their little child mind, and they make this idea of who their parents are because they've not actually fellowshiped and known their parents. And that's the same way with God. We've been so busy checking the T's, crossing the I's, conforming, building our churches, doing all the things we think are good deeds, Bible studies, and all these things, and we think they're all great, and they're not. They're not evil. They're good, right? But the problem is they're not in any shape or form fellowship with God. It's still just you're just comparing notes with other fallen people that are telling you their concept, and you guys are just coming to agreements under these concepts according to what you can see underneath the veil in death and darkness, which is absolutely nothing. So all of Christianity is based on just what men have taken the words of the Bible to mean, but the words are vestigial. They don't have a point of reference to compare. That's why the Holy Spirit has to come in and give you the mind of Christ so that you can sound him. See, the best way I can explain to you the Holy Spirit and how it operates in you, it's like it's like echolocation. You're constantly sounding God back and forth with your spirit. It's a whole nother like organ. It's a sensory organ that you have that you don't know how to use until the Holy Spirit teaches you. And it's literally you're able to view God using your spirit. It's I mean, it really is like you see the movies like that where they have the echolocation where you send out and it not only it's you see them outside and inside. It's like anyway, I don't know how to explain it. The Bible does get you to know where to look, so you can kind of look at this so that you know when he shows up what it really is going to look like. But when it gets there, it is never like what you think it's going to be. When God shows up, you're not expecting him to be what he really is. The Bible's giving you a kind of a conception of where to look, and then all of a sudden God shows up, and you're like, oh, I get it now. But it wasn't what you were expecting, not even close. But then when he shows up and he reveals himself, you're like, holy, holy, holy is the Lord God Almighty, which is, which was, and is to come. He is the Almighty. You see him when he reveals himself to you. He is so apart from everything that we've been told. He's so much higher than what we've been told. See, we're down here thinking we can do something to affect him, affect his plan, change his mind, influence his decisions, that we can pray and do stuff and change God's will towards us, and by our good deeds or bad deeds or forming the right religions or doing anything will have any bearing on this God that is so highly exalted, that he is so beyond all this stuff. This has no effect on him. We're the only ones that think any of this has any effect on us, or that could change anything. That we actually believe in our conceitedness, in our pride, that we can actually do something to affect the absolute perfect one, the holy one, the living God, versus our dead gods, our dead ideas, our dead notions. This God stands above all. He is so far removed from our conception, from our imaginations. He is so beyond what we can perceive or even know. It's like when you see him, you're like, oh my God. How much the raw, pure love. Even though we see that everything's being worked out and that God has subjected the world to vanity, but not without hope. And that hope being that Christ was slain from before he even began creating. He saw the problem, answered the problem, solved the problem, and then absolutely declared an absolute victory before he even began, you guys. Before he even began creation. So everything is inside his victory. Nothing that can transpire inside of time and space and dimensions can do anything to change what he's already purposed, set in motion, completed, and judged before ever anything began. When you see him, when you see this God, he is completely outside of everything you've been taught. They'll say that he's all-powerful, but they'll deny that. So they see the word where he's omnipotent, okay? But because they've never compared they can't even conceive what it would be to be omnipotent or without time, eternal. To look at, he's omnipresent, that he sees everything. He's omniscient. He knows all things. We have these ideas, but we can't even conceive them because we can't even frame ourselves outside of the veil. But once he reveals himself, you're just like, everything that is, everything that can be conceived of, anything, all dimensions, everything have all been settled. It's always been settled. He is, what he said and done is what he is. He is manifest as Christ on the cross. That is the fulfillment of his word. Not only that, it's the perfect picture of his word and his being. Everything Christ is can be known and seen clearly. So this is an objective God. Somebody accused me recently of having a subjective view on God, and I'm claiming to you, I'm telling you, all of my view before was subjective. Now my view is purely objective in the pure truth of God, in the I am. That is uncontainable, undefinable, unknowable unless he reveals himself to you. You can't conceive of him. Everybody's like, I believed in God. No, you didn't. You believed of a God that you constructed. You could not conceive of the real, true God until he shows himself. It's just you cannot do it. And he won't reveal to you with your eyes, because your eyes will make no difference. Your ears, your sense of touch, these won't make any difference. The only place where it makes difference is when you perceive him inside you. That there was an empty hole and now it's filled. Now, what he's doing is, when you start seeing the purpose for why he's doing this, and then what he's humbled you for is in order to exalt you to the highest place where he is, sitting right next to him in that position. This is for the purpose of fellowship and his full expression, because we are, so think of it like this, okay? So we have the triune God, right? And he's always just one, but we perceive him as the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. And it's like so we can call him let's say he's the 3-in-1 triune God. We'll call him the 3 at first. But the 3 now, that's him by himself. The us, the I am, the let us make them in our image, right? So then when we become, what he does, he works himself into us so that we become the 4th aspect of God, right? So we become the physical representation of God, and it's supposed to be on this earth. I don't know what we're going to do later. I mean, I know this is the crisis point is here on the earth. This is where the gateway to everything is here. Okay? So God has made all of creation. Everything that we see in this dimension, or whatever you want to call it, in our perceived reality, is all to show who he is. We were created for that purpose. All of creation was created for that purpose. The fallen angels, Satan, everything is an aspect of him. Light, sound, speed, physics, music. I mean, everything you can see in every single way is a way that God has meant to express himself and to have fellowship with us, with him, and him with us, and each one of us with each other, in this full dynamic of the sharing and the generation of his life. So what he's doing, and that the fact that he is so exalted and that he exalts us in this way, is that we're able to be the containers, or I shouldn't say even the containers, the conduits for his power, vessels for his use. And it would be no more, he doesn't look at us less than him. He looks at us as a part of him. Like a husband and a wife, to where the two have cleaved, where what man hates his wife, but he nourishes his wife, right? And so we're brought to that position to where we share everything in his kingdom. That he alone is just greater in us than the fact that he is. But other than that, his intention is not to dominate us. It's not to control us, to manipulate us, or to do anything. It's to share with us in the truest sense. The fullness of his being, his life, his perfection, his knowledge of everything, his omniscience, his omnipotence, his omnipresence. It's all to be shared with us. It's like literally what he's doing, and it can only be done because his work, his life cannot be used for evil. It cannot be. It's like a failsafe. It can't be used for anything that is outside of his will, person, intention, being. It can't be used. It will automatically shut off. It cannot be used for evil. So, like what we conceive evil. And being evil, in my definition, is anything that is apart from his being, who he is. Okay? I can't stress to you enough. Christianity has no idea of who he is. That's it. They don't understand him, the aspect of his being, the reality of his person, the intention of his heart, his character, his integrity, his mercy. Everything that we see, the greatest conception that we can conceive of from grace is the idea of what we can get underneath death. But when you see that grace is not only a truth, that we were made in grace, that grace is also the power of his life being transferred into us. It's also his word. It's also the light. It's also the way, the truth, the life. It's everything you see is him. And it's like everything in the scriptures is like from 1,000 different, more than that, like 1,000,000 different angles, declaring who he is, so that we're sitting here going, oh yeah, well, he's got to do this and he's got to do that. We got to, he makes us baptize this way and he makes us speak in tongues, or we don't need to speak in tongues, and we go through all these doctrines, and I'm a Calvinist, and I'm a Unitarian, I'm a Trinitarian, everybody's just caught up in all these things that are written about him and describing him, not realizing that when we're looking at those words, because we're not enlightened by the Holy Spirit, everything we see is just vestigial. It's just our best guess and best hope. There's no, and it's literally it's like with all of eternity in all time, space, and dimensions, we're in this little divot. If you ever get a chance to read The Great Divorce by C.S. Lewis, there's just a spot. It is so amazing. And as you start really understanding this, he shows him, this guy, he goes to heaven not realizing he's already thought he was dead in heaven, and he was just deceived wisp. He was absolutely in hell, not realizing that he was in hell. And it's just because he was separated from God. He had no substance, right? Well, anyways, he goes up to this place not realizing what it is. He's transformed just by the knowledge of God, right? Just by the understanding of who God is, and his love for him made him have substance. And so he said, if I wanted to go back, how could I go back? And because this whole time he couldn't understand why they wouldn't just come back down and help them. Why didn't you come down and help us? And the guy brings him over, and there's like in between these blades of grass, there's like a little crack in the dirt, right? And he says, and he's going, the entirety of hell. Even when he was there, it said it could go on for eternity. But in that place, the entirety of hell fit in a crack in the dirt that was no bigger than what a sparrow could eat, right? And so the vastness of our understanding and the bigness of our being and what we can see and conceive on the grand scope of everything is so minuscule that we just cannot, and we make all these broad assertions. Those people are going to go to hell, and those people are going to go to hell, and these people are good, they're going to go to heaven with us. And we're making all these fucking decisions, and we don't even see the beginning. We don't even see anything. And then when you're faced with the vastness of God, he's also made himself so simply known that you're like, it's like all the time, space, dimensions, the view of eternity simplified into one man, Jesus Christ. And it's like, and I'm sure we're going to see much more, and we're going to spend all this time, because if he is an eternal God, and we're going to spend eternity getting to know him and each other, and we, instead of being forced into these little peg holes, will become the eternal beings that we were supposed to be in the beginning. When I see my children, and I look at the unlimited, the capacity for thought and the capacity for knowledge and the capacity for growth is unlimited. It really is. And then as parents, and my parents did this to me, not knowing, I'm not trying to back on them, but all my gifts and my things I enjoyed and the things I was genius at, they said, nope, no, that's stupid, worthless. No, you better do this. And so all of it's Satan's idea is to keep you from knowing any of your potential, to keep you so pigeonholed that you are so stuck, and to teach yourself to self-regulate and to self-modify and to self-censor and to self-do all these things to keep yourself stuck in that tiny little pit. That's what he's done to you. He's robbed you from all of the gifts of God, robbed you from your humanity, robbed you from life. He's taught you to kill yourself, your children, your family. He doesn't even have to do anything. He just trains you to go through the works of killing your own family, teaching them to trust in the death of Satan, to trust in his power, to call him Jesus, to lift up holy hands to the name of Satan that you call Jesus, or Muhammad, or Buddha, or whatever Satan you end up saying you're serving. Because every religion goes the same place. All roads lead to the same place, the pit. All of them. They all have, up until this very day, everybody that does the same thing as the one that went to the pit before them, they've been taught to do it by the one that went to the pit before them. Everyone has been deceived, lied to, and destroyed because Satan has deceived us all. And the sin in us deceived us. Satan used that sin and enlives that sin by pointing at us and our religions and our works and our doctrines and our divisions and our dispositions, our subjectiveness. As someone tried to point out to me and called me subjective, and I'm going, you really have no idea what subjective means. Sorry, you don't know, because you haven't been brought outside to the objective God, to the absolute truth. There's nothing I could have done to see what I see. I could not do it. I am incapable. I see the prison that is holding me, or that was holding me, the comprehensiveness of it. That everyone that you know and love is regulating you to keep you in the prison. All the good things that you think, everyone is corralling you. It's kind of like the Truman Show, which is a very good show too, but it's like that. Everybody is working to keep you deceived. Not like they're on the truth anyways, because everyone's working together to keep them they're deceived, and everybody is working with. So if you try to break out of the deception, they all attack you. Oh, yeah, you're going wrong. You're a cult leader. You're subjective. Your beliefs are, yeah. And it's like, oh. And so you realize that I'm not offended. I mean, honestly, I just think it's funny, and he gave me a chance to bring this about, just to really define this. But this is the case. God is absolutely knowable, and I'm professing him to you right now. But the only way that you can do it is to be in his election. And if you're arguing with me, if you felt the unction and the compulsion to argue with me and call me all these, say these things about me, then that might be that the Holy Spirit's trying to knock you up and say, hey, listen up. You're one of my children. It might be. You might be a child of God. And everyone's a child of God, don't get me wrong. But for the dispensational purposes of his plan, there's the first fruits. Then there's going to be there's the high priest, there's the Levites, basically, or the priests, the Levites. Then you're going to have the Sanhedrin. Then you're going to have the General Assembly. You're going to have everything down the line. God is waking each one of them up in order through each one. It's like a breaker. So it goes man, clink, woman, clink, cleave, boop. Then then the next class comes about. So it's like the woman, she produces that life. They take the life, poof, and then they come up. And then bam, 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 bam. Everything starts falling in dominoes, ending with everything in heaven, on the earth, under the earth, and the seas shall bow and confess. There is nothing that in all of everything that God has created will all be reconciled to him. It already has been as far as he's concerned, but we're actually going to be a part of that real-time fulfillment of what he's doing. It's just like a being born a man. I didn't choose to be born a man. I was given this position. Same way. I didn't know what a king priest was. I had no idea. I didn't even know what a man was, honestly, until the Lord showed me. And it's like there was nothing I could have known to even work towards this this possibility. I mean, I couldn't even I couldn't even know what it was until he showed me what it was. That he was building me to this, I had no idea. I had no idea. I'm just glad to be in the kingdom. I don't give a shit. I'll polish shoes to be in his presence. I don't give a shit. But that's not what he did. Once, not only did he free me, not only did he, after I was completely disobedient to him, after he personally freed me, I went back to serving Satan, thinking it was him. It's just I put the cart in front of the horse and just went balls out, doing what everyone else was doing, and God's like, oh, and he had to absolutely crush me again. I mean, everything I did, it just reminds me of, like in Deuteronomy when, Moses is just listing all the things that they did disobedient to God. Like at every stop, every place they stopped in all like the 70 different places or whatever that they stopped. And over this whole 40 years, they were disobedient the whole time. And he's bringing it all to remembrance so they don't believe they had nothing to do with your goodness at all. It was me. You know what I mean? Because I can't even conceive of what he did. And then he goes, okay, here's your white garments. Take them or not. Okay, here's your kingly garments. Take them or not. Here's your priestly garments. Here's your crown. Here's your scepter. Here's your seat right next to me on the right hand. Come and sit down. Here's your feast at the table, your seat at the table. Here's your priesthood. Here's your kingship. Here's all these things he just hands to you, and you had no idea even what they were until he reveals them to you. You're like, what is that? Because you're thinking of, what is a priest? Because I can tell you right now, very, very, very few people can tell me what a priest is and God's ideas of what a priest is and what a priest performs. What is a king priest? What does this image and dominion mean? What does all these things mean? Until you can see what they mean, I'm going to say 100% of Christians have no idea what sin is actually, or what righteousness is actually. Definitely not grace, what grace is actually. It's unmerited favor. Well, kinda. It's so much more comprehensive and massive than that, and you just can't see it. God's calling an election. They don't know what God's election means at all, or how it's tied to grace, or how it's absolute and has nothing to do with you. It's all his, according to his will. They don't get it. No, you have to believe. And if you don't believe, you're going to go to hell. And it's like, you have no idea what election means then. Not at all. Predestination. No fucking idea. None of you guys do. Well, but the Calvinists, God predestined some of us be saved forever, and then everyone else is going to predestine them to hell. And you're going, you have no fucking idea. Literally, all these words are vestigial to you. Worship, you don't even know what that word means. It's vestigial to you. Oh, it's when we go to church and raise our hands and listen to music. Vestigial. You don't even fucking know what that is mean anything. Fellowship. That word, you have fucking no idea what it means. None. Until the Lord reveals that one to you. I mean, anything. Grace, mercy, truth. That I am. Even the term I am, what does that mean? Until you see it, you can't see it. You can't even conceive of it. How is Christ the Word? You won't conceive of it. You can't. It's impossible to see. How is he the Word? So in the beginning was the Word was with God, the Word was God. God, you can't understand that until the Lord shows you. You may have your maybe you think you know, according to your conceptions of your dead understanding. But you don't see that until the Lord goes, hey, you think you know what that means? Here, let's check this out. And he just shows you. And then he is once you realize that everything is declaring him, how simple he is to be known, how clearly you can see him and know him. When you see it, how ridiculously easy it is. You're going to go, I did all these things for nothing. All religions mean nothing. All doctrines mean nothing. Everything is nothing, other than the fact that they serve to show you that they mean nothing, so that you'll turn from them and look at him. It's like the law. The purpose of the law was so that you would die under the law. You see what I mean? It was only there until you overcame the law. Then once you overcome the law, there's no more need for the law. You're in the faith. That's why there's the two priesthoods. Why there's the Melchizedek priesthood that always is. Then there was the Levitical priesthood just for a little while, so that you could overcome the Levitical priesthood and understand the Melchizedek priesthood even more deeply. What does it mean that Christ is forever the high priest after the order of Melchizedek? Who is Melchizedek? Who is Jethro, Moses' father-in-law, the high priest of Midian? Who's Aruna? Who are the Nethinims, the Gibeonites? The ones that freaking tricked Joshua? What do they represent? What is, you start looking at where in the... So Melchizedek, who worshipped after the order of Melchizedek? That was from the time of Adam all the way up to the time of the Mosaic Law. And then for any of the prophets, any of the apostles, Jesus himself, everybody that God let in on the secret, the mystery, they worshipped after the order of Melchizedek, and they did not obey the law. That's why all of them were killed. Jesus was crucified. All the apostles, they didn't follow the law. That's why they were killed. You look through you look through the prophets. They just did things contrary to the law. And, I mean, everybody. People have these checklists, and they say, well, if God doesn't always do this, just like we think He should, and you say that He doesn't, then we're gonna kill you. And it's like, anyway, it's just. We are so blind, so deceived. And I don't remember the name of the person that was kind of trying to talk a little crap yesterday. I don't remember. I'm sorry. I don't think he had a name. I think it was just anyway, but I just want you to know that God, once you see Him, He's so easy to see and know. He's all there is. There's nothing else besides Him. Once you see Him and how clearly He is so high above everything that you see everything that you know, it's meaningless. And on top of that, okay, if I was concerned about viewers and about fame or getting your money in any way, do you think I would go about it like this? Do you think I would tell you the things you don't want to hear? Call you the names that I'm calling you and telling you that you're blind, that everything you know is nothing but vestigial, that you don't know what the word subjective means at all? I mean, would I do these things to you? I mean, the mark of a cult leader is someone who is withholding information from you and metering it to you and then keeping you dependent upon them. I'm not. I'm telling you, He's all there for you at any time that He's revealed to you. He's right there. This is how you find Him. This is what you need. You have no need of me. I'm telling you what you are, a child of God, that God is just, I'm trying to point you directly to Him. I don't care if you follow me. Look at my viewership. I only get like 20 or 30 views now. I don't care. Never had that many to begin with. But I have to agree, or I have to believe, that this is for those whom God has ordained. Because nobody else. I mean, the people that have found this all over the world. I mean, there's people in all these different countries that are corresponding with me. And they happen to stumble upon it. They see that I see what they saw, or vice versa. And they've just went, oh my God, you see it too. And then it's this such excitement, but we have no need to take from you. I have no need for your approval. I have no need to convince you. I don't care. All I'm trying to do is go, look at, God is this. We've been deceived. Everything's a lie. God is fully truth. He's the only truth. There is nothing else besides Him. He is so lifted up that nothing compares to Him. There's nothing in your peripheral visions anywhere that can even distract you away from Him once you see Him there. When you see Him in that position, you can only worship Him. I don't worship doctrines and denominations or religions. I don't care about pastors. I don't care about anybody that didn't die and raise for me. I don't give one fuck about what you think a Christian ought to be, or if I act like a Christian. I am not a Christian at all. I follow the only true God, the living God. And that's a big deal. That's another thing you wouldn't know. The living God. What does that mean that He's the living God or the Lord of hosts? These things that they're vestigial to people that are still underneath the veil. It's like we're speaking a whole nother language. We use the same words, but our vocabulary is completely, the definitions behind our words are completely different. Righteousness, faith, that word, no Christians know what faith means. Faith is like, once you see faith, you're like, oh my God, I had no faith. There was no faith at all. Faith was nothing. And people say, which faith do you follow? It's by faith. It's by faith. Yet everything they do is works. They don't see it. They don't understand it. They're a living, walking contradiction to faith. Because you can't have faith while you still say that you believed and accepted and repented. You can't put your faith all into him. That he by himself has done everything for himself, through himself. I mean, look at Ephesians. Just read the first chapter of Ephesians. See how many times Paul says this. Not by you. It's all him. And it was from before the foundation of the world. And everybody's like, oh yeah, I get it. Well, let's go to church on Sunday. Yep. Yep, let's go out and get to save these lost Christians, these lost people. We got to go out and save them. And you're like, oh. It's just like everything they do it's utter nonsense in the face of the reality of these words, that when God reveals himself, when you see him, you understand everything. You understand what these words mean. You understand his purpose. You understand the problem, what is on the earth and how it's been cut off from him. And it's only because we are not submitting to him. We are submitting to the one that's pretending to be him. That we're being tricked and deceived into our own deaths, and to be the guardians and the priests of our own deaths. Not only to kill our own selves, but our families and everyone we love and everything. We are keeping everything addicted to death is what we're doing. That's all. That's why everybody keeps dying, is because we're pointing them to focus on death and worship death. To believe in it, and to the eventual, and the what does that say? Whenever when Agent Smith, the word he always used to say to Neo, I can't remember right now, but it's inevitable or whatever it is. Death is inevitable, and it's like, no, that's not the truth. That's the fear of death, that we've been deceived into believing and relinquishing our life to go to death. We teach our children, oh, there we're going, we're all going to die. Someday it's okay, because we'll die and then we'll go to heaven. That's a lie, by the way. If you die, you go to the pit. You go to hell. You're not being tormented or roasted, but you're gone. You have failed your mission. You have not relinquished or relinked to God. You have been deceived fully, and the evidence is that you died. Then your children following you, completely innocent, and they die because of you. And it's just because you were a child, completely innocent, trained from your youth to be complicit with death. I mean, and your parents and their parents and everybody has been complicit with death. They have agreed with death. They've made a covenant with death. And with hell, they are at agreement. And that's where they go. It's just so simple, guys. And I thank you, whoever you were, that you give me this opportunity to point this out. Because honestly, I don't care what you believe, what faith you believe, or whether you don't believe. You can say whatever you want. You can blaspheme God all you want, up and down. I don't care. It won't change what he said about you, and I'm trying to let you know that. So that because you think it matters. You think you're doing something bold, or you're being so argumentative, or you're being intelligent, or you're being, you're just rebellious, and you're just trying to be, inflammatory and all these other things, and it's like, it means nothing. It means nothing. When you see on the grand scope of everything the foolishness of what you're doing, you're just going, and I'm trying to let you know that you don't have to do that. You can just submit to him. You could just absolutely receive his life right now. Break free from death. I'm trying to tell you how to do it. But the thing is, until the Lord reveals, everything I'm saying to you is just vestigial. It means nothing to you. The words I'm speaking to you, though you may have heard them before, not knowing the definitions nor the power of these words, you'll still be trapped. And you're going to argue with me and call me subjective. You can call me all the things you want to call me. And I'm still trying to tell you, you don't need to do it. You don't need to. It's a useless endeavor. You're only the author of your own captivity. That's it. And I desire everyone to be free. Because if you come to life, the world comes to life. We all come to life. Then my children will live. Your children will live. Everyone you've loved will live. Everything. Everyone you hate too, unfortunately. But the thing is everything will live if we can turn the tide. And we're almost there. We're right there. We're in the Great Tribulation right now. We are in the last era of the fallen world. We're in the end of the church age. We're about ready to start the millennial reign, and it's going to happen within the next couple of years, I think. Within that, I could be tomorrow. I'm saying it is like we're like right there. I can see what's necessary. I can see what needs to happen. I can understand how it's going to operate, but I can't lead people to it. I have to keep preaching the gospel to them and let the gospel do its work. That's why I'm sharing you the good news. See, that word, gospel, that word is absolutely, completely vestigial to Christians. The good news is that he is all sufficient. That he is a perfect creator, that all things are done. There's nothing outside. There's no loose ends. It's all done. It's been done forever, from before the foundation of the world. We just never believed him, and that's why we all died. It's just, when you see it, you go, that's it? That's all there is? This is how we're being held captive? Like a big giant elephant that they raise on that rope, and then later on they just have to leave the rope on the ground, and the elephant will never leave because it was trained to stay in that spot, thinking that peg was what was holding him in. Even though there's no peg anymore, he still stands there. The biggest of all animals, the most powerful, ferocious animal that could be, if he wanted to be, held by nothing but a little bar in his mind. Then you start looking around at how sad it is that parents, so they've been trained to make the bars in their own minds and then their hearts. And then thinking they're doing something good for their children, they start fashioning those same bars and those same shackles on their own children and their neighbors and grandchildren with great affection, thinking they're doing the right thing. Anyway, it is absolutely crushing when you see the truth of what we're doing to ourselves and to each other. How we are 100% complicit with Satan in all of our religions. That everything we're doing is to self-regulate, to keep ourselves in chains. Satan doesn't have to do anything because we do it to ourselves. All religions are doing the same thing. All of them are teaching us to not believe God's word, but our doctrines, our understandings, our versions of Jesus. Anyway, this is about to be over. Whether you like it or not, this is going to be revealed to you. If you want to live, and if you can understand what I'm saying, this is the big deal. Because our Mr. Subjective guy, if you can't understand what I'm saying, are you mad at me? Or that you can't understand? Or you're just suspicious of me for some reason that I would tell you the truth for no cost? That I wouldn't, you know what I mean? That I'm even trying to even reach you. I don't even need to. But this is great because I can display to those that get to see this somewhere else that maybe they can see, because there's going to be a lot of believers that are going to come through the Great Tribulation now. So the grace era is over. I have not seen any new believers. I don't see anyone new, like a real believer. I've seen a lot of new Christians because people are they sense something's wrong and they're going right into the hellhole, to the synagogues of Satan, to become recreations of Satan. That's what they're doing. All the churches are making recreations of little Satans. That's it. They're in the image and dominion of Satan. That's all they're doing. I'm talking about actually people that see God, that see him as he is. There's a Christian and then there's believers, trust me. And then the believers, they're only generated by God, and they know it. They're like, there's nothing that I did for this. God just went, I was a piece of shit 1 second, and God showed me this truth, and I'm blown away now. I don't know how the fuck it happened. I don't deserve it. There's nothing. All these little Christians are like, oh, I believed. I go to church. I did this. I believed. I accepted. I repented. I do these things. I try to live like Jesus. They go through all these things, and you're going, fucking Satan. You don't realize it. And then the next denomination says, no, they did it wrong. We did it right. No. They did this right. They did this right, but not that. They're wrong. They're not. That's why you should come to our church. And And then you get these Mormons. Oh, no, you guys don't have Joseph Smith. You guys are idiots. It's like, and then they squabble back and forth. And then you have these guys, Muhammad. And, and it's like, anyway, you just keep going through all those lists. It's just all Satan. It's just the embodiment of Satan. It's confusion. It's lies. It's hypocrisy. Everything about it is false. And everything is unwise because it's not founded on the word of God. It's the word of man. It's the absolute conceptions of men. And then they try to convince people through the pang of death, the fear of hell, everything they're going to do to somebody, and tell them, if you don't do what we say and act like we do, you're going to go to eternal hell, or you're going to be cut off or annihilated, or you're going to get a different level in paradise. You're not going to attain to like we do up here. You're going to have this little lowly glory. You know what I mean? And it's like, you guys, it's so, once you see it, how obvious it is, you're just like, how was I so deceived? And it's like, because we didn't have the light of God. We were just in darkness. There was nothing we could do right or the left to escape that darkness. There was nothing. We were completely without strength. But in due time, Christ. Anyway, as you see it, the more you see it, and you're just going, you start seeing what the temple's about, what the blood sacrifices are, where all the vestments are, who are the living creatures in Ezekiel? What's the wheel inside the wheels? What is that throne sitting way up high? What is the train filling the house? What is the cloud? What are the two on the mercy seat? What are the two cherubim doing? What about the two that overshadow the mercy seat? What is all this? Why gold and why silver and why brass and why, all this stuff just starts going. You're just like, oh my God. God has clearly shown himself and we just couldn't see him. Completely as he is. Everywhere you look, he's completely on display. And we're like, no, line upon line. Here a little, there a little, you're a little, there a little. My religion's better than yours. And he's like, oh, you. Look at the sky, the moon, the stars. Look at the sun. Look at all these plants, the way they're built. Look at the ecosystems. Look at the perfect till of the earth. Everything is all displayed for the generation of life because he is the creator. Everything is. Everything is about life. It's not about, the problem is death. Death is the issue. Death is what's deleting everything, which makes everything vain. Death is the thing to be overcome. The only way to overcome death is life. How do you get life? Life is the most precious commodity there is. It is more precious than gold. It is more precious than anything. It is the most precious thing there is life. And nobody is seeking after it because they don't even know that it's there. They don't even know it's available to them. They don't even know that it's so abundant that it would be just so cheap. As soon as it's brought to the earth, there's so much of it, it's without cost. It's free. For everything and everyone. All religions, all people, all animals, all water, trees, plants, worlds, suns, dimensions. It's everything. It's so abundant. It's free. And it's more precious. One drop of life is more precious than all of the riches of the world put together. And we don't even know what to look for. We don't even know that it's there. We don't even know that it exists. We can't even conceive of it. And God's like waiting to rain it on us, to pour it onto us, to fill us with his life, to absolutely overflow us and to interconnect us all with his life, to overspread everything with it. Once you see the gold of the temple, what it represents, that life. Because gold is, it's a conception that we can see. But it's a description of the life that covers everything. To be clothed over in life. Everything's life. Life, 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 life. He is the life. He's seeking to bring us and give his life to us without reservation, without limit, to the full measure of the life that he possesses. He will give to us. He's showing us how to appropriate it. This is what this is about. Christ came to show us not only who he is, what he's about, what's going on, but to practically show us how he overcame death. So we can follow him, get in line right behind him, and do what he did. Exactly what he did. And it's all obedience to the word that he is, that he was the embodiment of. Faith is in that word. Life is in that word. Mercy is in that word. Truth is in that word. Everything's in that word. Resurrection, creation, everything is there. Fully ready for us. Fully there. Fully reserved. Ready to go as soon as we can unlock it. And he's showing us how right now. Believe me, don't believe me, that I'm a crackpot, I'm a fluke, whatever you want to call me, I don't give a fuck. Right? I don't care. What the Lord is giving us and what I'm trying to show you and make you aware of for you and your family. So you might think I'm an asshole and you don't like me. I am loving you to the max by telling you this. I'm trying to get you free from death. I want you to join me. I want you to follow me. Follow with me. Let's put it that way. Not following me because I'm following Christ, but you follow with me. Let's go together. I want your family to live. I want your children to overcome death. I want this all to happen for every single person. Even if I don't like you. Even Democrats. Liberals. Social justice warriors. Everyone. LGBTQ people. All the people I just go, ew. All of them. I want you all to be alive and free from the chains that are binding you. You are children of God. You are in the holy family. You just don't know it. You've been twisted by all these religions, by all these conceptions of right and wrong, all these isms that Satan has set up to keep your mind occupied away from the truth of life. And I'm heralding nothing but life. Jesus is the life. He's the way. He's the truth. He's everything. Anyway, I know. Anyway, you guys. Hate me, don't hate me, call me a cult leader, whatever the fuck you want, I don't care. I'm just letting you know the truth. Okay, God showed me the truth for some damn reason. I don't know why. I wouldn't pick me, trust me. And he goes, and I'm just fucking blown away by it every freaking minute. And he's pouring it out faster to me than he's ever done it before now. And I can see him and hear him. I've always been able to hear him like audibly, and I could perceive him what he was saying, but now I can see him in my spirit. I go, oh my God! And literally it's anytime my spirit looks at him, it goes, it points straight up because he's so damn high. You're like, oh my God, he's high. You know what I mean? It's just literally my spirit is just I feel this ebb and flow. It is like echolocation. It's like the best way I can describe it. It's like an impulse back and forth between us. Boom, 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 boom. That's feeling him out and feeling who he is and what he is and his love and his mercy and who he is and how he is and what it's all there. And it's like you're just reaching out and feeling him. I can't explain it other than that to you guys. It's like there's nothing to compare it with. You know what I mean? It's like echolocation is the best way. When you see in the movies, whenever it goes into that thing, whenever it's all boom, and you see it feel out everything, and they can see all the, they can, you know what I mean? It's just that's the way it is. I don't, And it's always been that way. I just didn't understand it. You know, I didn't know how to wield it before. It's always, everything was spontaneous. When God would speak to me, I'm like, oh, what was that? And where was that? How did that come from? And now it's like, it's like at will now. Boom, 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 boom. It's just this, it's a sounding out of God, I guess. You're fathoming, like the fathoming him. That's what they used to do, that they'd sound for, those are the words they used back then. It was like the fathoming. When you fathom God, it's like you're sitting down a dipstick trying to find the depth, you know what I mean? And you're like, okay, I'm getting closer to land because it's getting higher and higher and higher, you know what I mean? And that's how it feels as he's getting closer. It's like the echolocation is faster and faster and faster and faster, you know what I mean? It was like, boop, 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 and then it come back, boop, 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 and then now it's like, it's just like super fast. And you're going, oh, he's right here, he's right here, he's right here, he's super close, he's super close. That's what it feels like right now. He's just like, I guess that's the best way to describe it. It's just, he's literally, I could feel him, and he was out there, but now he's like right here. Right here. I'm just going, he's right there, he's so close, he's about back. And of course, he's come back in the hidden sense, that we've received him and seen him as he is, and it's his first hidden coming, but there's going to come when we manifest him, which will be corporate, the manifestation of Christ, which is his return on the earth. And that's going to blow everybody's minds when all of a sudden their neighbors are just transformed before them. Each one of us fully submitted to the will of God. Each one of us fully manifesting the Word, because as Christ was the Word, because that's who he is. But once we see him as the Word, we become as he is as the Word, and we become living expressions of him as the Word. This is what I don't know how to explain it even better than that. We're the Word. He is the Word, we're the Word. He's the life, we're the life. It's like everything, we're the exact replication of him. It's just everything, and it's for the purpose of the sharing and the transferring of his life to everything. And he set it up in the order from God to Jesus for our conception. I'm not saying that they're separated, but from Jesus to the husband, to the man to the woman, they cleave. Then the woman processes the life that came from the husband and produces like children. We have the life spread to the earth. Then this will then go on, and it'll start enlivening everything else, and then the next thing that needs to be enlivened will enliven the next thing, and the next thing will enliven the next thing. And it's this chain of this life that God is, which will all come back into him. And I always see it like the CERN, that big giant circle. It's just that everything is all him, but and then once everything becomes all him, it's just this self-sustaining perpetual deal. Anyway, I'm just getting more conceptualized now. But you guys, anyway, the Lord is great. He's one. He's absolutely amazing, and he's all yours. Life is yours. All the riches of all of the things that there is. The most precious commodity there is in this entire universe is life, and he's ready to give it to us without measure, without dilution, without anything, just fully. And by the way, that's a fire. Okay, guys, later.